G'day guys and gal, you may know the Space Elves, the Eldar, as a dying race, fighting to hold on and even save their race from extinction, a once mighty empire that ruled for 60 million years, brought down low and constantly spanked by both Slaanesh, the Imperium, and the Writers. But if they're dying, how come the Eldar have more people and power now than they did 10,000 years ago? How does a dying race have an increasing population and now suddenly a potential opportunity to rise back to dominance via Ynnari? How can you be both endangered and the danger? Well, despite this sounding like a plot hole, there is actually a good little reason why it's both that I'll explain. Before we get started, it's Friday, baby, and we have something extra juicy for you Space Elf fans. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 Space Elf models ready to rock and roll thanks to my continued collaboration with 3D Art Guy. First up, we have the Royal Ghost Warriors, significantly more ornate and slightly larger than the standard Wraith Guard. You can actually use them in tandem, almost like an exalted version. They feature multiple weapon and head variants and are honestly stunning. To back these boys up, we have the Royal Ghost Lord, a large and in-charge legend with even more ornateness, once again proxying as an elite, exalted version of a Wraith Lord. Now for something for the painters out there, we are also releasing a very small amount of the Royal Longlookers in the 75mm art scale. As she is so detailed, we couldn't actually print her in tabletop scale and keep it genuinely paintable, but I loved her so much we increased her size to the classic 75mm art scale, and now the painters among you can go to town. The magnum opus of this Space Elf launch is the Titan. This dude is massive and looks fucking insane, featuring multiple helmet and weapon variants, meaning you can make him a melee monster or a ranged beast. I actually have a standard Eldar Titan, and he completely eclipses it in my opinion. Anyone you whip this out in front of will jizz themselves or your money back. As this is a VIP limited launch, we only have limited stock available and then they're gone for good. That's how we structure these collaborations with 3D Art Guy. If you have a 3D printer, you can actually get the STLs for these by signing up to 3D Art Guy's Patreon, which also gives you access to a shitload of other awesome files as well. But while you're browsing the VIP launch, why not check out the rest of the Space Elves as well? Link below. We've gone for very low numbers for this launch, so I don't expect it to last long. Today we'll discuss how the Eldar can be both a dying race as well as growing and some may argue, thriving. Now let's get into it. When the fall of the Eldar happened, what actually happened? What did the Eldar lose that has made it so difficult for them to recover? Well, yeah, they lost like 99% of their population, which isn't very helpful in the thriving department. However, a big population spank can be recovered pretty quickly when we're talking about millennia. Even with the Eldar's very slow rate of breeding, 10,000 years is enough time for any population to massively recover. And they have, but there's a catch. See, they lost more than just a lot of their population. Pretty much all Eldar souls are now stamped with Slaanesh's symbol. The Prince of Pleasure technically has claim on almost all of the Eldar's souls, which means that the Eldar, if living in real space, would rapidly begin to age and deteriorate until they become a near lifeless husk as Slaanesh eats their soul. This process is fast, faster even if the Eldar uses their psychic abilities, and would result in a very quick extinction. Hence the Eldar needed a solution, but the solution made a slow reproductive rate even slower. For Craftworld and Exodite Eldar, they need to carry around a Spirit Stone. This blocks the claim of Slaanesh and also provides a safe place for the Eldar's soul to go when they die. The only issue is that these Spirit Stones are extremely difficult to find. Basically, an Eldar strike team has to enter the Eye of Terror, which is like literally hell, go to an Eldar Crone world, which is a name for one of the worlds that was overrun by demons during the fall, and then during a strange psychic event where the echoes of the souls of the terrorized and killed Eldar linger, a number of Spirit Stones will briefly materialize and need to be taken. The strike team then needs to escape the Crone world, escape the Eye of Terror, and get back to the Craft world or Maiden world. Not a very fun time. This is why the Dark Eldar don't have Spirit Stones. Firstly, the stones reject them for being pieces of shit, but mostly because it would massively hamper their population. Now clearly this process of Spirit Stone retrieval is quite profitable. Sure, some Eldar will die on these missions, but enough missions have been successful that the Craftworld and Exodite Eldar populations have exploded in size since the fall. The Craftworlds used to be large but not super large nomadic trade ships. It was only after the fall that they put their bone singers to work and massively expanded the ships into continent-sized behemoths that can support millions of souls. So overall, despite it being slow work, this is a steady way of population increasing for the non-rapey or clowny Eldar. However, this isn't why they're considered to be a dying race. The reason why the ever-growing Craftworld population is still technically going extinct is because the Eldar cannot create new Craftworlds, and Craftworlds are being destroyed. When the Eldar Empire fell, it also lost most of its technology and weapons that allowed it to dominate for so long, including the means to make new Craftworlds. Craftworld Idhare was destroyed by Space Marines. Craftworld Malantai was destroyed by the Tyranids. Craftworld Zasuthra was infected by Gene Stealers and purged by the Ynnari. Even Baal Tan, Aran, one of the mightiest craft worlds, was fractured by a chaos invasion, whilst Yndar, another legendary craft world, was nearly wiped clean by Tyranids. So whilst the populations of each craft world is increasing, the amount of craft worlds is decreasing. If the Eldar could make new craft worlds, then the craft world Eldar would not be a dying race. And not that anyone really gives a fuck about the Exodite Eldar, however they face a similar situation. They reside on maiden worlds, stunning paradise-like worlds that were terraformed by the ancient Eldar, and as such, can grow a world spirit. New maiden worlds cannot be created, so whenever a maiden world is eaten by Tyranids, and boy oh boy do Tyranids love eating maiden worlds, or colonized by the Imperium or whatever, that is a chunk of the Exodites lost forever. Not that anyone gives a fuck. I mean, yes, space elves riding space dinosaurs is awesome, but they don't have models, so RIP. Sounds like a job for me. How about the Dark Eldar? They don't have Spirit Stones, Craft Worlds, or Maiden Worlds to worry about. So are they thriving, thus not a dying race, thus making the Eldar not a dying race? Well, it's complicated. The Dark Eldar live in the Webway, which is mostly insulated from Slaanesh. The rate in which their souls are drained and they start dying is extremely slow in the Webway, especially for young Dark Eldar, so they don't need Spirit Stones. In order to replenish their souls and protect them from Slaanesh, they must inflict suffering, which is a big driver as to why they are such assholes. Not that they really needed an excuse. This is why they raid real space and take slaves and prisoners. It's to rejuvenate themselves. The Dark Eldar actually make up the largest population of the Eldar, since while they do still have natural births, most Dark Eldar are vat bred, so they can pump them out on a massive scale. Since real space raids are risky and Dark Eldar are always murdering each other, if they relied on natural births, they would be fucked. So what's the catch? Why are they still also technically a dying race? Well, that is because they only really have one big home, Commorragh. Sure, there are smaller hideouts in the Webway, however Vect, Lord of the Dark Eldar, absorbed all cities and domains within the Webway, so now they are all centralized within Commorragh. Now Commorragh is massive, it literally has a captured star powering it, so it's not like one nuke can wipe out all Dark Eldar kind of deal. However, some recent incidences have shown its vulnerability. A number of times, demonic incursions have forced Vect to break off a piece of Commorragh and basically jettison it into the warp, pieces he cannot get back. If Commorragh was to fall, the Dark Eldar are fucked. Only scattered warbands wandering the Webway would survive. Their raids would become pathetic as their population would nosedive, as would their weaponry, causing the few remaining survivors to wither. So while Commorragh isn't having population issues, it is vulnerable and can be destroyed, either piece by piece or in one especially apocalyptic battle. At least when a craft world is destroyed, there is like over a dozen left. If Commorragh goes, that's it. There's no Dark City 2 Electric Boogaloo, so their existence is fragile. What about the Harlequins? What's the deal with them? Well, the Harlequins don't reproduce with each other as far as I'm aware. Instead, Eldar from Craft Worlds, Commorragh, or Maiden Worlds will hear the call of Sir Gorach and abandon their previous life, taking up the mantle of a Harlequin. So as long as other Eldar live, the Harlequins live. However, if the other Eldar die, the Harlequins die. This is part of the reason why the Harlequins are the bridge between the different Eldar races. They know that they're all in this together, and the death of one of the Eldar sub-factions hurts the rest. How do the Ynnari come into play? Well, the Ynnari don't need Spirit Stones and don't need to torture fuck people or hide in the Webway, so they don't have the glaring issues that the other Eldar do. In saying that, the Ynnari have also been at non-stop war since their creation, so they haven't had time to take advantage of their unique reproductive situation. However, if the Dark Eldar and Craft Worlds were to join the Ynnari and have their souls protected from Slaanesh, then it could result in a massive spike in Craft World populations, as well as less Dark Eldar raiding, thus less Dark Eldar dying. More unity, so also less Dark Eldar dying. It would also allow the Dark Eldar and Craft Worlds to work together directly. The Dark Eldar actually have a shitload of technology from before the fall of the Eldar, but they cannot use it as it requires Eldar Psykers, which the Dark Eldar don't have. The Craft Worlders do though. However, the Dark Eldar are also extremely petty and won't give it to the Craft Worlds. But united into the Ynnari, they would, and I bet there would be something in storage that would allow the creation of new Craft Worlds or the terraformation of new Maiden Worlds. So the Ynnari is pretty much the only clear way for the Eldar to push through their status as a dying race. However, Ynned is the god of death, not the god of fucking and fertility, so I also wouldn't expect to see a big population explosion under him. So are the Eldar a dying race? Well, yes. Their existence is constantly balanced on a knife's edge, and whilst Eldar can be born, Craft Worlds cannot, and Commorragh is only one especially shit day away from collapse. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up one of the Royal Space Elves, or all of them. We also have more slots available for the pre-painted Major Minis, so if you are keen to get a Major Mini shipped to your door assembled, based, painted and varnished, then here's your chance. If it's sold out by the time you check it out, then you can always join the waitlist. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more dying content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.